All right, well, let's get going here. I'd like to welcome everybody to our webinar series. This one is about processing facilities and marketing those meat products. So we'll get going here. It's going to be myself, Steve Becker. I am the Vice President of Business Development here at CCS. We're out of Columbus, Nebraska. We're hosting these webinars in an effort to, well, inform and educate and really spread the word about some neat things going on in the processing industry. So really appreciate you joining. That's me. And then we're also joined today by Kevin Barnhill. And Kevin's with the Blair Meat Market out of Blair, Nebraska. He owns, it's a family-owned business. And they're USDA inspected processing plant. They have a full-service meat counter. They make everything that they sell, bacon, sausage, lunch meats right there in the butcher shop. They also have products outside, out of their smokehouse that are just ready to eat. So Kevin has a lot of years of experience in the industry, 30 years of experience in beef purchasing, and kind of an impressive career portfolio, including Director of Beef Purchasing and Beef Sales with ConAgra Foods, Technical Sales, and with Samco Inc., and that's a branch of JBS. Also spent some time as VP of Procurement at Adams Land and Cattle. So Kevin, I think you're on. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
Good to have you on. So one of the things that I need to do before we start our conversation with Kevin is talk just a little bit about CCS. So I get my commercial done right up front, and then you won't have to listen to me at the end. So we got 35 years of experience working with livestock producers. We're an expert in commercial construction. We build livestock housing systems, commercial construction, and processing facilities. We're built on a simple concept: service is our business, growth is yours. We offer services from start to finish, and are honored to serve you as a one-stop construction company. We can work from the pre-planning of a project with design, permitting, choosing a site. Then we'll move into the construction phase with you. We're very good at scheduling and construction management, and it's just imperative that we bring that project to an end the day that you expect it, so everything is on time and in budget. After that's all done and you're well into your facility, we offer warranty service and then maintenance if that's required. So if you have any questions or would like to speak to a CCS representative about our services after this webinar, probably the best way to contact us is on our website, and we'd really like to hear from you. So that's my commercial. As we move forward on this, we're going to do live questions and answers at the end of the session. Just type them in the chat box, and we'll try to get to all those at the end. We try to keep these under an hour, so we won't carry on too long. But we want to get started here with our guest, Kevin. And so Kevin, get us started by telling me a little bit about yourself, other than what I said, and the path that got you to the Blair Meat Market.
So as you said, I was with ConAgra Foods for a number of years, and I spent 30 years working in the beef industry as a corporate procurement and risk management. I spent 10 of those years in Brazil, putting together plants and programs for ConAgra Foods, developing products specifically for ConAgra Foods, and then technical sales for JBS, doing the same kind of thing for customers outside of ConAgra Foods. So in a roundabout way, and then I just got to a point to where the travel had gotten exhausting, and I was hooked up with a local feed yard and was helping them with some procurement and risk management on their corn and cattle purchases. And this plant had just been sitting idle in my town of Blair for quite some time, and always intrigued me about this history behind my facility. And this is what I grew up in a meat market, family-owned meat market before I went to university, and so just kind of came back to where I started and just went out on my own. Got tired of the whole corporate runaround and making money for everybody else, and decided I'd try my hand at my own.
That's a great story and quite a background. One of the things that we're seeing is this industry starting to look a little bit like the microbrew, where people have an interest in buying locally and think and believe that there's, it's a better quality product. Is that what you're saying too?
It's exactly, that's a great analogy and comparison is the microbrew. What people have discovered or what they're finding out, or the trends, however you want to articulate that, is that there's a perceived and I think an actual quality difference in what's done in more of a small style processing facility. And, if you look at the big packers providing proteins and generic type products for a one size fits all, whereas the microbrews focus on the local palate and local raw materials and kind of build that very specific to a vision or what's popular in that area that the big multinational companies can't. They've got to build a one size fits all. And the microbrew, and by extension, guys like me, we can be very customized and very specific to fit a customer's needs.
That's good. I appreciate your touching on the local palate. I thought that fits very nicely. So when you decided to buy the facility in Blair, I guess what is the first step you took in getting that business going and specifically maybe marketing?
So, of course, the first step you have to look at is part of your raw material, right? Would I have raw material? Was there a viable business here? Since I don't own my own cattle, that was a big part for me. And then the other part was, what did I want to be? There's a broad breadth of how you can identify what you want your company to be. So, but I think that's the first step, is what do you want to be? So we chose that we wanted to be driven solely in the higher end of the quality spectrum. I felt like the grocery chains in our area specifically met that medium to lower quality in the beef, especially in beef. And so we really focused a lot on making sure that we were in that high choice to prime, upper 2/3. And at the same time, I wanted to provide value. So I work on a pretty specific margin where I can, and since we are somewhat self-supplied and with relationships I've gotten over the years, I'm able to provide that upper choice. We decided to age. That's a big marketing part and it's becoming more popular if you get in the chat rooms and social media. So we're a high quality, and we decided that regardless of the cash flow, we were going to age our products for a minimum of 30 days. And then we wanted to do some processing. So that was kind of the looks that we took in our first steps and deciding what markets we wanted to attack and try to penetrate.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So that 30 days, that's a real premium product there.
Yes.
Yeah.
and it does present negative cash flow, but it makes up for it in margin.
Yeah, good. About how many head do you process a week?
So we try to keep our numbers around 10 head of beef per week and 10 to 12 head of hogs, and then a few lambs and goats thrown in there. We could probably push a few more through the system, but that's our sweet spot where we get everything done in the quality and the manner that we like, and still have time to do the other processing that we do besides just kill and chill and process. You mentioned we have an RTE area and some snack sticks, and we do some wholesale restaurant business. If I crowded my coolers and my slaughter time too much, I wouldn't have the space and time to do the other businesses that I wanted to do.
Right, right. So when it comes to marketing and selling your products, talk about a couple of opportunities out there, maybe for a operation your size, and then maybe an operation that's a little bit bigger.
Sure. So in an operation my size, I'm very small, right? I fall into, especially in the USDA terminology, of a very small plant. So I've partnered with a couple of the growers in my area. I have one grower that does all Wagyu type cattle. And so I'll do a few head of those for him and helped him put together his label and helped him with his marketing strategies. So in addition to running our own products, we also have tried to partner with people that are trying to do niche strategies and provide them a service with slaughter packaging, labeling. So that's one customer. The other customers I have one customer that they have their slaughter and fabrication done at a separate facility because they like to do a few more head than what I want to do. But then they transfer the raw material to me to make their hot dogs and sausages and different things like that out of all their beef products and trimmings and dried beef and things like that. So I think in addition to looking at what we looked at from the retail, you often have to look at there's a big private label type niche for guys like us that the big guys just can't even get close to, right? We're talking to some of the people I deal with. They do 40 head a year, but they make good margin at it. There's their own cattle. It gives me an overhead base, so it fills my slaughter and my fabrication and my processing. But if they were to try to go even to the smallest packers around, they can't get anybody to pay attention to them.
Yeah. So you really fill that niche. So if there's a facility a little bit, let's say a larger facility, any thoughts on ways they may market their beef? It may be different than you do, but any just thoughts on that topic?
Yeah. So if, let's say you're going to be a small box beef producer and you want to do 100 head a day or less than 1,000 a week kind of deal, I would tell you the people I've helped start bigger plants, the one thing they overlook is packaging. You really need to invest specifically in your box. Don't go too cheap on the box. Because that's what guys see. When you deliver to a small guy like me, we've got to stack boxes. And if the box doesn't hold up, or if it's a two-piece strap, it's not something that's usable. And as silly as it sounds, when I was with Conagra Meats and Conagra Beef, and we found that you could become a preferred supplier because your box was reusable. They would take your product out and put their product in, and that was a big selling point. Was that, hey, your box holds up to a couple of transfers. So one of the marketing strategies has to be around your packaging.
Okay. Anything else on for those bigger guys? How about, people that they would contact, reach out to?
Sure. There are still a few regional grocery chains that are welcoming and becoming more local focused. Even the big guys, Kroger, Safeway, Costco, they are partnering more and more for local guys to supply into the local store. So here in Omaha, right, we have Baker's and Hy-Vee. and Baker's is a Kroger company, but they also have a whole section in their meat department and across that's local. And so they really push that. So I think that's in a bigger situation than what I'm in. I think that's a real viable strategy to go and attack even in the markets, the bigger markets, pushing the local.
Oh, great. Great, Kevin. Hey, I want to just remind everybody, if you have questions, go ahead and throw those in the chat box, and we'll catch those when we get to the end here. So, I know we're focusing on marketing. What are some of the most, I know you've mentioned some, but are there some that are more successful that you've seen over the years than others?
Yeah, I think the most successful strategy is consistency, right? I've always looked at and kind of admired McDonald's, not for the product they produce, but the way that they produce it. It's never a surprise. You can go to a McDonald's anywhere in the world and you know exactly what you're going to get. You have an expectation, and that expectation on product and product quality is met every time. So, you know, I define quality by consistency and repeatability. So I think that's one of the more important things that we need to pay attention to, is to make sure that yeah, you can make a batch or you can make a product, but can you commercialize it and make it repeatable, moving out of your test kitchen and into production. So that's one of the things I've always paid attention to. And then the other thing is, believe it or not, a successful strategy is don't be afraid to say no. Customers will ask for a lot of different things, and they will ask for the moon. But you are in control of your plant and your business and who you want to be. Don't be afraid to tell a customer that, you know what, that just doesn't fit in my strategy, or that just doesn't fit in what I can do. Offer an alternative. But I mean, a lot of times customers will have unreasonable expectations and unreasonable asks because they don't understand the capacity and capability of the plants they're dealing with.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. So for those that are listening, do you have any thoughts on strategies maybe that they might avoid to save them some time?
I put some thought into this question today because I've missed, you miss just as much as you hit, right? You just hope that you hit a few more times than you miss. One of the strategies that you need to avoid is the same follow-up in that don't be afraid to tell a customer no. Too often, a smaller company or smaller will get excited about landing a Walmart or a Costco or and just flat overextend yourself. I think we, especially small business people and small producers, have to be very realistic about what we can actually do and do successfully and repeat over and over. The other thing is, as a killer of cattle, right? We harvest cattle. They come with a variety of parts. It's real easy to sell ribeyes. You know, it's maybe not so easy to sell eye of round, but they still have two with every animal. So you've got to avoid being a single, kind of a one-trick pony. Part of your success has to be marketing the entire carcass. And to do that, you've got to be a little creative, and you have to be able to process past box beef.
Well, that sounds good. I'm going to jump in with a question here from one of the folks listening. Question is, how many people do you have currently in your facility, cutting, wrapping, the group? So
other than myself, and I still spend quite a bit of time on the boning table. I'm getting a little long in the tooth to spend a lot of time on slaughter anymore, but I have 3 full-time guys, and I have a 4th one starting this week. So we are expanding. So I have 3 full-time guys. I have one full-time, call it wrapper girl, and then I have two other part-timers, and then my wife.
Okay, good, thanks. Another question. I've seen a lot of processors charge their customers for the boxes they use. Do you do this, or is it just included since it's advertising?
So that's a yes and a no, right? So I have a standard tray box that we use as part of our business. If a customer wants something outside of my standard tray box, then yes, I charge them. I don't typically do an upcharge on the box. I source it. I have a local box manufacturer right in Fremont. I source it. I go back to the customer. I say, hey, look, it's going to be $2 a box, and I'll just add it on. If they want to take just my standard tray box that I buy in volume and I consider affordable, and that cost is baked into my processing fees, then no. But if they want boxed beef, if they want something specific, then yeah, I do charge them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. So you've jumped into business for yourself and been successful, bringing that business back to life, so to speak, right, Kevin?
Yeah. It was idle when I bought it.
Yeah. So it's like a new business. So talk a little bit about that experience, would you?
Yeah, it was idle when I bought it, and it had gone idle because the previous owner had not done a good job. So my plant had a little bit of reputation in the area that was not good. So I spent a lot of time and energy contacting local producers, local farmers, and almost begging them, but and the other thing I did is I toured. I opened my doors wide open. I had community open houses, pulled back the curtain, so to speak. People don't understand where meat comes from. So I pulled back the curtain, and anybody that came in that wanted a tour, you bet. We're proud of who we are. We're proud of what we do. We're proud of what we've remodeled and done to this plant. So I did a lot of that, did a lot of community. I did a lot of public speaking. Part of my career was I did a lot of public speaking. And so I continued on with that. I was at the local Kiwanis and the Lions Club and the MOPS groups out of churches, and telling them about meats and proteins and how to extend their dollars, and just becoming kind of think of it as the local expert, creating a name and a buzz about myself. Social media is definitely your friend. It's the least expensive, and I have found, in my area at least, the most effective form of advertisement. So I do very few radio, and I do no newspaper. All of my ads run on social media. We do giveaways. But at the beginning, it was a rough battle. But I also joined the local cattlemen's and started forming relationships with the producers that even weren't bringing animals here. And so that's that would be my advice, is really involve yourself in your area, your community, your local organizations, and because it's kind of a scary process what we do, and people don't understand it. A lot of them don't even want to understand it. So that would be a big chunk of my advice is get out there and be loud and proud.
Yeah, and whether you're taking over or carrying on a tradition or starting something totally new, that's all excellent advice. So, any other thoughts on? I've got a couple more. I've got another question here, but let's just go to this question. So, this person's asking how much do you spend on boxes? She's seen a ton of prices out there. Is there a better way to go about buying those?
Yeah, unfortunately, cardboard's expensive, and I've switched producers or switched suppliers a couple of times to find one that gave me what I want. Right now, I'm about a dollar a box on my tray boxes. On the heavier boxes that some people ask for, it's closer to 2.80, almost $3 a box. But that box will hold 50 pounds. So on a per pound basis, it's a little bit more affordable. Um, so yeah, I mean, you really just have to shop around, and unfortunately, most of us are, as a small business guy, you don't have a big staff of guys just going around chasing down box prices. So you just gotta have to figure it out and work it out. And uh, I think NAMP, if you're not a member of NAMP as a small producer, a small slaughter facility, you should be. They do a great job in helping you with a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, and you've had some experience with the larger producers out there over the years. You've
Yes.
a lot of those. Any thoughts when it comes to the guys wanting to really get into it and do 100 head a day or something like that?
Yeah, even at 100 head a day, you've got the opportunity. We talked earlier about the flexibility, and these big packers, they are at such a volume that there's only certain ways they can do things, right? They can, and heavy cattle, they can't take heavy cattle, can't take light cattle. For them to sort out grass fed, unless it's a half a day's production, they can't get it done. So by being smaller, just the built-in flexibility gives you so much more opportunity. And right or wrong, every grower, every farmer thinks his genetics are a little better, and they're all wanting to see if they can't figure out a way to get their product direct to the consumer without that feed yard and packer in the middle. And we're the guys that can help them do it. I mean, it's this size is the guys that can make them do it.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. It's interesting. We've had several people talking to us about new facilities in the like a load a day, the 40 to 50 head a day range. Any thoughts on those guys contemplating getting that going in their area?
Me personally, if I was going to build, and I've toyed with the idea, but it's just not something I'm interested in at this point. I think I would look at it closer to 100 head a day total capacity, but I would also make it multi-species. I'd have it set up somehow where you could do cattle and hogs, because a lot of people are marketing both of those proteins together, and so that's what I would look at. Maybe just a little bit bigger than that 50 head, but again, it's the flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you fill a void right there.
Yes, there's right now, what I'm aware of, there's probably 2, maybe 3 guys that run at about 200 head a day, and they're turning business away. And even at their level, they're becoming a little bit more rigid. They won't take the onesies and twosies. They want full loads of cattle. And, like I said, a couple of my customers, they do 40 head a year, and they're pretty successful with it.
Yeah. Well, at all those levels, there's opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, got another question. In our area, we have no one to take the offal from the livestock, which makes that a huge expense. Do you have any new ideas regarding cutting the costs of that in a new facility?
So, yes, have your smokehouse set up for pets, for pet treats. I would include pet treats in my HACCP. You can dehydrate liver, and especially the liver. And then there's also small level offal traders that you can find that if there's a freezer in your area, you can build pallets, right? And then they'll take them all at once. Once you build them, they'll contract ahead. You won't get top premium, but it's sure better than going to the bone can with heart, liver, tongue, spleen, and tails.
Yeah. Okay, good, thanks. Okay, another question from Nick is, what's your opinion on portable harvesting? Trailers, like for chickens, lambs, goats, that kind of process?
You know, I'm a little, as a federal facility, I'm a little concerned about how clean you can keep those carcasses out of a trailer. I know some guys are doing it. Most of them that I know do it custom exempt and don't do USDA approved slaughter in portables, just because it's complicated. So that would be my opinion. I think there's absolutely a niche out there, and I think it's doable. I'm just, from my own perspective, I'm a little uncomfortable with trying to get that HACCP program put in place and having the feds approve that.
Yeah. Okay. That leads me to another question on USDA inspections. Can you talk a little bit about that process for you?
Sure. So there's a ton of resources. I'd point back to the AMP. If you're not federally inspected and you're looking to get federally inspected, AMP has a huge amount of resources to help you with that. University of Wisconsin Meat Lab also has tons of free programs and kind of almost pre-written HACCP programs that are available. So does University of Nebraska Lincoln. And then contact your state HACCP coordinator. They look for people to help. And each state has a HACCP coordinator that's associated with whatever university is in the states. And they're more than happy to help you get your original HACCPs written. I will tell you, it's not as daunting a task as it sounds like. We're an old plant. Our facility was built in the 50s. We use a lot of old technology, and we were able to do it. We did a little bit of remodel. We cleaned everything really well, but we didn't reconfigure the whole plant. And so, and the record keeping, the getting USDA is not daunting. It's the record keeping, maintaining your HACCP that can be, that's what I spend certainly more time than I would like on, just the record keeping and the paperwork.
Yeah. Okay, good, thanks. Another question from Lee is, what do you do with the hides?
Oh, don't get me started on hides and disposal. That is the biggest racket in our industry. Is the darling Darpro. Holy smokes! Currently, I just put my hides in the dumpster. They go to the landfill because the hide market is just horrible what's going on right now in the hide market. So when I started 6 years ago, I was getting paid $50 a head for hides. The last time I talked to to the local hide guy, he said that if I paid him, he'd come get them. And so I just keep going to the dumpster with him until that changes. Then the other side is your render product is, outside of employees, my render product is probably my biggest per head expense. Right now I'm spending $800 a month on render.
Okay. Well, we hope that hide thing comes back around.
I do too. Although I have a buddy in Ohio that for his render product, he partnered with a local feed yard who composts it. So he cut his render expenses. He actually created a product by going to compost with it, and then it's land applied.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't have capability with a truck and things to get that out, but I have talked to people about that. But composting is a good alternative for disposing of guts, heads, and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions yet, but do you have any more thoughts or things that you have thought of through our conversation that you'd want to add to the folks that are listening?
No, I really enjoyed my time, and they've had some great questions. I think that there are real needs across the areas in the country, especially here in the Midwest and the Southeast, for plants in that 50 to 100 head a day capacity.
Yeah, and we're certainly seeing that interest and looking forward to working with those folks. We've assembled a team that includes facilities design and a feasibility study, capability, and then of course we've got the construction side of it. So we've got a good team put together. So those of you that are out there thinking about starting a facility, we'd be really happy to speak with you. Just feel free to contact us or give me a call, Steve Becker. Be happy to talk with you. And I think we will wrap up this session, Kevin, and want to thank you very much for your time away from your meat cutting table.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, Kevin. Thanks. We'll see you.
You bet. Bye.